alaikum wa rahmatullah. As you guys all see, we have our guest, Shaykh Munir, Shaykh Muhammad Munir, inshallah. Inshallah, the Shaykh will give us a very brief lecture. The Shaykh is a guest to us today. He's one of the graduates from Jamiat Islamic in Medina University. Inshallah, let's be all respectful and listen to the Shaykh, and let's try and learn from the Shaykh, inshallah. فليتفضل يا شيخ.
بسم الله الحمد لله الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إقرارا به وتوحيدا وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما مزيدا أما بعد. We all know the virtue and the excellent merit of busying yourselves with knowledge, staying busy with seeking ilm. Whether it's on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, whether it is during the week, whether you live as a full-time professional student of knowledge, sheikh, Quran teacher, Quran student. And from the best, if not the best of knowledge, and the best of the Islamic fields of study is the Quran al-Kareem. As the Messenger of Allah ﷺ has told us. It was narrated by Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhuma in the famous tradition collected by Imam al-Bukhari, خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. The best of you are those who learn the Quran and teach it to others. And included in this word, this statement, تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ. Learning the Quran and teaching it to others, that includes the memorization of the Kitab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by heart. And we all know the special status that the Hufaz of the Quran had during the time of the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. They had special status in the deen and in the dunya. They had special status in this life and also towards their journey in the hereafter. As whereas the martyrs from the battle of Uhud, when the Prophet ﷺ ran out of space to bury the dead combatants, he asked who memorized more of the Quran, who had most of the Quran, because two men had to go in one grave. So he would put the Hufaz first before the other companions who didn't memorize the entire Quran, or those who didn't have as much of the Quran memorized. So this hadith proves that they had a special status, not only when they lived, but even after they had passed on, when they were traveling to the hereafter. And we all know that many of the companions of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ could not read, and many of them could not write. And illiteracy was widespread during that time and in that region of the Arabian Peninsula. The average person, man or woman, couldn't read and couldn't write. So therefore, those who were scribes were limited, and they were very scarce. The people who could write down the Quran. So those who memorized it by heart, those who had much of it, or if not the entire Quran, were very valuable to the Prophet ﷺ. So that's one aspect with regards to memorizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book. But that's not the end. It doesn't stop there. Another aspect of learning the Quran is acting upon the Quran and implementing the Quran. As the Prophet ﷺ, as it's mentioned, that he says that my people, إِنَّ قَوْمٍ اتَّخَذُوا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَهْجُورًا. They have taken this Quran and they've abandoned it. They've left it alone. They've boycotted the Quran. This verse clearly proves that the true understanding of Allah's book and the true person who is actually called a Sahib al-Quran, Ahlullah wa Khasatuhu, the special people of Allah, are those who implement Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book. And not just memorize it, but they act upon it and they abide by it. And the one who abides by the Quran is much better, closer to Allah, more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the one who memorized it from cover to cover. And then we have another level of the Quran al-Kareem and learning it and teaching it, and that is reflecting upon its meanings. Reflecting upon the Quran and actually thinking about what is being said. What are you reading? What are you memorizing? Do you understand what it means? No matter what your age is, from 5 years old to 10 years old to 15 to 20. Each and every one of us, we have to reflect upon the Quran, because Allah Azza wa Jalla, He has told us that it is a Mubarak book. It's a blessed book. And He sent this book down to be reflected upon. لِيَدَّبَّرُوا. Allah says for them to reflect upon its ayat. وَلِيَتَذَكَّرَ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. And for men and women of understanding to think about it. Another step of learning the Quran and teaching the Quran is the actual tafsir of the Quran al-Kareem. And every single person who has memorized the entire Quran, or is almost finished, or is making a good progress, he or she should take some time to sit down and read the basics of the tafsir. And then we have the ulum al-Quran, the specific type of eloquence that's mentioned in Allah's book. Why does this verse say like hafina min hawl al-arsh? Why does it say min hawl al-arsh, not just hawl al-arsh? There's a meaning. Because that's not the way you would normally say it in the Arabic language. You wouldn't say min. That word min is something extra, it's something special. It gives a greater meaning. It gives a greater meaning. And there are many other examples of the balagha, which is a science of ulum al-Quran. The point that we're trying to get to is, the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of people, men and women, young and old, are those who learn Allah's book. And when we say learning Allah's book, it includes memorizing it, it includes implementing it, it includes reflecting and thinking about what Allah is saying to you. And what is your responsibility as someone who memorized the Quran? And it also includes having the tafsir of the Quran al-Kareem. The hadith then says, وَعَلَّمَهُ, and he teaches it to others. The very first person to learn the Quran after you learn it is your family members. Your family, your mother and your father, if they haven't memorized it, if they don't understand what it means, if they don't know the tafsir, your brothers, your sisters, your relatives, your friends, pass on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book. And the thing that I want to talk about specifically today, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that when you're memorizing the Quran and studying the Quran, you must purify your intentions. You have to have a sincere intention for memorizing. You can't just memorize just because your parents say do it. You can't memorize just because you're trying to be like your friend and trying to be better than your friend. You cannot just study the Quran al-Kareem for material gain, things from the dunya, because you're special, as we just said. You were special in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and you're going to be special in 2015. The Rasul ﷺ tells us, يَا أُمُّ الْقَوْمَ أَقْرَأُهُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ. Those who are considered aqra are to lead the people in prayer. And we also can sit down and dissect this hadith. What does this mean? Those who memorize the most, those who know the most about the Quran, or those who have the most understanding of Islam? Those who have the most understanding of Islam. Whether it's this interpretation or whether it's the next interpretation, those who have knowledge of the Quran are special. They are put forth. They have a virtue in this life and thereafter. So how do you keep a balance in being special and having a virtue and also remaining sincere? Remaining sincere. Alaikum salam to Allah. Alaikum salam to Allah.
How you been, Shaykh?
Alhamdulillah, ahlan wa sahlan.
Good.
And not using your knowledge to get things in the world, in the dunya. How old are you, Akhi? You're 13 years old. Who's the oldest in this class? How old are you? 15. Okay, you're way beyond the age of seeing how things go in the world. You see how things go, how things don't go. You see advantages and disadvantages. So it's very, very dangerous when a person is studying the deen, especially Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book. Because we have many Muslims who don't care too much about knowledge. Many Muslims who really don't know too much about knowledge. Hadith and Tafseer and fiqh and things like this. Many Muslims who barely practice. Some Muslims who are they're not even Muslims anymore. But when it comes to the Quran al-Kareem, all of them show respect. Is this not the case? All of them. And when you say that I'm Hafiz the Quran, I've been the Quran, they will instantly give you a hug and a kiss no matter where you go. From Minnesota to Morocco to South Africa to China to Japan. All you have to say is Quran, memorize the Quran, they're going to give you love and respect. So there lies no doubt. This is from the barakah of this book And this is from the Izzah and the Karam of this book, that is bountiful book. So you have to be very careful now, because you can see that you have something that can be used as a weapon to get what you want, to go where you want to go, to get special privileges. Everybody understand this? Certain things that the average person can't get, even if he's knowledgeable. It's dangerous enough if you're knowledgeable. But you have the Quran, you study the Quran, you have Ijazah, you're going to study a different mode of recitation. It's very dangerous. So you must have a great deal of consciousness. You have to beware of Shaytan and beware of the plots and the tricks of Shaytan on both sides. The Shaytan may come to you and he may get you to quit studying the Quran. He says, you're not sincere. You're only studying because of your parents, so why do it? Or the Shaytan will come to you and you may not have no intention of learning what Allah says, but just to please your parents, or to win the competition, or to be at the head of the class. Allah the Sublime, the Exalted, He tells us, إِنَّهُ يَرَاكُمْ هُوَ وَقَبِيلُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا تَرَوْنَهُمْ. Allah says that indeed Shaytan and his minions, the demons, the jinn, they see you, whereas you cannot see them. They see you, whereas you cannot see them. In other words, there's always precaution that you have to take when you memorize and when you study. And there's a fine balance between perfecting something and between showing off. Seeking the praise of the people, seeking the applause of the people, and seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, my advice to you young men, inshallah, is to continue doing what you're doing, and to know that what you're doing is very special, and that you have been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is upon you to be grateful to Allah for that. Thank Allah for choosing you, making you Muslims, and placing you here today. Because many people I know were 13 years old, they had no clue about Islam. They had no clue about the Quran. Let alone memorize half of it or all of it. Everybody understand what I'm trying to say? So keep your intentions pure. If you're not studying for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sake, then you're wasting your time. And the very first person that's going to go to the hellfire, that's going to be burnt, that's going to be tortured, is the one who read the Quran al-Kareem. How is this, one may ask? Not someone who's disrespectful to his parents, someone who committed murder, someone who drank alcohol, someone who made zina, someone who did these crimes. No, he's not the first person to go to the fire. The very first person to burn is someone, waliyadhu billah, who is similar to you, who is sitting here like you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will bring this person on the day of judgment. And Allah will tell him His blessings and His favors. Allah said, I did this for you, I did that for you, I gave you this, I taught you the Quran, I allowed you to finish. You were the head of your class. And the man, as the hadith says, فَعَرَفَهَا, he will know about these blessings. He says, yes, he will acknowledge them, he won't lie. And Allah Azza wa Jal, or it will be said to him, فَمَا عَمِلْتَ فِيهَا, what did you do for what I gave you? How did you repay me for those blessings? The man will say, تَعَلَّمْتُ الْقُرْآنَ وَقَرَأْتُهُ فِيكَ. Okay, he says, I studied the Quran for you, O Allah, and I recited it for you. It will be said to him, كَذَبْتَ, you lie. You're not telling the truth. إِنَّمَا تَعَلَّمْتَ الْقُرْآنَ إِنَّمَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ لِيُقَالَ قَارِئٌ وَقَدْ قِيلَ. You only studied it, you only memorized it, so the people will call you a qari or a hafiz, and you did good and you did that. And then, waliyadhu billah, the man will be poured on his face and thrown into the hellfire. So it's very, very dangerous if you do not have the correct intentions. So when you study the Quran, you should only study it for who? Allah. No one else. Be sincere. Listen to your parents. Respect your teachers. Listen to them. But the one that you're really doing it for is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one else. And the moment you feel like someone is coming at you and you hear something talking to you about your intention, do it like this and say it like that, then you need to walk away from that and seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I ask Allah by His beautiful names and perfect attributes to bless you all, Ameen. And to make you successful in your quest and your journey on the best thing to spend your time with is studying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book, Ameen. And any questions or comments or something that you want to ask about or talk about, now is the time. And if not, this is what we will suffice ourselves with. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Do you guys have any questions for the Sheikh? I do. Fadlan.
Muhammad was saying, were you, what is it, Makkah?
Where was I living?
Yeah.
Medina Nabawiyah, the Prophet's city.
Were you a student there or,
Yes.
or a teacher?
Well, a combination of both, but mainly a student. I went to Mecca, I made Hajj, Umrah, friends there, but I stayed and lived in Medina. Now,
Where is Makkah?
Mecca is about 4 hours from Medina, probably southwest of Medina. It's in the country known today as Saudi Arabia. It used to be known as Arabia in the Middle East. It's between, I would say, Africa and Iraq and Iran. Now,
Why did they add Sincerity when it used to be Arabia?
it says, why have they added Saudi and it used to be Arabia only? That's because when that regime of government took control over that area and they united all of the different cities and towns, they called it Al-Mamlaka Al-Arabiya Al-Saudiya, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, because the main leader, his sons, and his descendants, they came from a place called Al-Saud. Saud was the name of one of the original founding fathers of the unified country. Before, Arabia was ruled by different types of people. Some people were Arabs, some people were Turks, some people came from other places. Okay? So this man, he came and he unified all of those different areas and countries, Medina, Mecca, the Hijaz, Najd, so on and so forth, and he named it, or it was named after him. That's why they call it that. Okay? Now,
In Mecca, was it Duxi?
says, well, the Duxis in Mecca. There are many Duxis in Mecca, but they don't call them Duxis. But there are many places for Tahfidh al-Quran Kareem. Mecca and Medina, yes.
Do they use sticks?
Use a stick. Let's see. In the Prophet's Masjid, they don't use sticks. Most of the masjids that I've seen, they don't use sticks. However, I'm sure there are a few old school
To
teachers.
hit. To hit.
I understand exactly what you mean. I'm sure there were a few that use sticks. Go ahead.
That was like, they don't call the top. What
Say
they
that.
call?
What they study?
What do they call the top?
So that one at a time, let him finish.
What do you mean? The actual the Mus'haf Sharif? Or you talking about something else? Mus'haf Sharif? Yeah, that's what we call it. Mus'haf Sharif.
What?
Ayda, inshallah. Al-Mus'haf Al-Sharif. Everybody clear, inshallah? No more questions? Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.